Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know people are still jumping on to the webinar, but I would like to welcome you to the Jewelers Going Digital survey discussion with industry leaders today. My name is Sarah Ukoric, and I am the Director of Client Relations at GemFind. I will be moderating today's webinar. Today, our panelists are Dustin Lemick, CEO of BriteCo. Welcome, Dustin.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate being here.
Thank you. Alex Fetanat, founder and CEO of GemFind. Hi, Alex. Welcome today.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you. And thanks, everyone, for joining this webinar.
We also have Trace Shelton joining us, Editor-in-Chief of INSTORE. Thank you for being here today, Trace.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yes, it'll be great. And we also have Sean Lemire, General Director of Polygon. Great to have you join us today, Sean.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here, and thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you all for joining us today. We will be beginning with a short presentation from Dustin, followed by prepared questions for our panel, and then we will open it up for Q&A. So please ask a question in the chat or raise your hand at that time, and you can ask a question to the panelists. We would also like to hear from any jewelry retailers joining us today at the end of the webinar if you'd like to share a success story from the past year. So at this point, I will turn it over to Dustin, and you can begin your presentation.
Thanks, Sarah. Really appreciate it, and welcome everybody. We're really excited to have such a great panel here and to kind of present to you some findings that we found from a survey that we took. We took a survey really trying to learn more about the impacts of COVID. And as we all know, there's been some good, bad, and neutral things that have come out of this. And we're trying to kind of uncover really what we can take and what we can learn from this situation that we've all found ourselves in. And so we thought it was a good thing to do to kind of poll retail jewelers and figure out what's working, what's not working. So we talked to a little over 200 stores, retailers, and asked them a whole series of questions around what they were doing to really in relation to COVID and how they were responding. And so we asked a whole host of questions around technology, around marketing, around advertising, and how they're communicating really in kind of this new unknown territory. And so what I plan to do here is I'm going to walk through. If you haven't read the survey, I certainly recommend going to check it out. We published it, and we'll at the end here we'll let you know where you can access that, and we've got a whole host of resources for you as well in terms of helping you improve your business. And that's really what we're all here for, is we're all here to give you tips and to try to help you as much as possible to improve your business and to take learnings out of this and really improve. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of highlight, if you haven't read the survey, I'm going to highlight certain factors that we thought were interesting and little tidbits that we kind of pulled out. And so I'm going to start with some results that were just some interesting numbers. Some of this stuff will make complete sense. Some of this is super intuitive, and some of it to me is a bit shocking. And so, 50% of stores were closed for two or more months. Not super surprising. Most of us knew that there was massive closures. Still a heavy reliant on in-store visits, and 30% cut store staff and hours, and 27% of retailers stopped advertising. To me, that last number is important. Jewelers who were cutting back were the ones that were really seeing decreases in sales. There were jewelers that actually increased advertising, increased budgets, or at least kept things the same. And it seemed like those jewelers from the survey results were reporting a little bit more success. and which was really, really interesting to us. It's kind of that concept of zig when other people are zagging. And so we saw some of that in these survey results. So one of the really interesting things to me was kind of this increase in engagement rings. It seemed like, this was somewhat counterintuitive to me, that more people were getting engaged through COVID. And I don't know if that was kind of the cohabitating where you kind of were bubbled, but stores were reporting seeing increases in engagement ring sales. Also, something that I think is incredible is 50% of stores bounced back right away once they started opening up. To me, that really speaks to the resiliency of the industry. I was incredibly impressed with how retailers really responded. So I think overall, my takeaway was there's so many positive things that we can take here, but what were the things really, like if we were to drill in, what were those things that we can learn from? And so self-purchasers, 48% saw increase in self-purchasers. I'm sure you've heard of this. This is not brand new, but it's still a really strong segment. It is self-purchasers, specifically female self-purchasers. So if you're not currently focused in that area, I would recommend taking a little bit harder of a look there. And then we saw 54% of jewelers maintain the same media mix, and this to me is shocking. The 21% weren't advertising at all / don't advertise. Guys, I think like if that has to change, like that should be 3% in my opinion. So if you're not taking initiative to advertise, I definitely would recommend, and this, you don't have to throw a lot of money at some of these things. There's a lot of testing that can happen. And at BriteCo, we are huge advocates of testing things. There's so much technology available. There's so many channels and available outlets and resources, which we all, here on this panel, we're all going to make resources available to you. And it doesn't have to be a huge thing. You don't have to spend a ton of money just to test some of these channels. And so we'll get to some of those areas where you can kind of test. So 58% of retailers posted more on social media. Not a surprise, a lot of folks were using Facebook. One thing that's here that I'm going to want to highlight is this idea of reviews. I think we've all looked or talked about reviews. 20% of jewelers are still not featuring reviews, is to me a number that's too high. I really, really advocate for featuring reviews. There's a lot of systems, there's technology. Alex can certainly help you in that regard to bolster up your reviews. And it's an easy thing to do, and not an expensive thing to do either. 40% use Facebook to sell. I think that Facebook is an incredible avenue. So if you're not using Facebook, start trying it. You can start small. There's a lot of different tactics you can use to do that. And social media was the best ROI. So what does this all mean? Basically, when you don't have customers coming into your store, there's got to be other ways to reach them. I come from the retail space, and I understand what it's like to be a retail jeweler. And sometimes you're sitting there and you're waiting for customers to come in. What can you do to increase that traffic? And one thing that I think was a huge takeaway for me from this survey was this concept of omni-channel, multiple channels. So you already have this incredible outlet of a retail brick and mortar store. And online businesses, there's so many components that an online business cannot compete with you on because they cannot get that personal, literal physical interaction. And trust me, that is coming back. That is not going anywhere, especially in our industry where that is so important. having that human touch is so important. So what I really look at, and I encourage you to look at, is what are these other channels that you can get to assist your core business, your core channel? Like, how do you use Facebook to drive people to your store? Are you doing like social media campaigns? What are you doing in terms of other types of promotions that can do that? And I think COVID really highlighted these other channels. Now, when things get back sort of to normal, how do you take what we've all learned and say, okay, I don't want to just go back to normal. I want to be better. And how do I use Facebook? How do I use Zoom? Blogging, which is a little bit different, but 61% of jewelers that we polled do not blog at all. This is easy. I mean, this is free. So getting a blog set up is not a super hard thing. I mean, you can ask any of us on this panel, we could tell you how to do it, but you're writing an article basically. And I would encourage you to do that. You get into a consistent rhythm. It'll help your SEO, it'll help your web presence, and it'll do a bunch of other things for you. So, and another thing too is Zoom. We're on Zoom right now. If you're not Zooming with customers, it's a really good avenue, and again, cheap, that you can make contact with your customers. If they can't come to you, send them a Zoom link, get on Zoom. So I think that Zoom's a good avenue. There's 17% are using it. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. So e-commerce, this was a kind of a hot topic because it takes a little more to sell direct online through like an e-commerce platform. GemFind can certainly help you in this area, and Polygon too, in terms of looking at how to set up a successful e-commerce store. Again, the costs have come down a lot here. It's really about testing, and to me, it's about trying new things. I really advocate to the entire industry to try new things. BriteCo, for instance, like we offer it completely free. Actually, you can make money on it. Technology solution for appraisals. If you're not trying it, why not? It's an easy thing to adopt. So from our findings, 38% of jewelers hired outside help for their websites. 1 in 10 do not have a website. I think that needs to be 0 out of 10. So I would assume most of you, if not all of you that are on this webinar, have a website. If you don't, call Alex. And then 1 out of every 2 are not selling online. So areas of improvement. So the main takeaway that I had was, and I mentioned this before, was this omni-channel approach. Truly looking at multiple areas, different channels to improve your business. This is a Shopify quote in terms of the future of retail. And so, I talked about omni-channel, but I really encourage you just to think about the long term. Like, think about 2 years down the road. Where do you want to be? How can you start planning? And then the last thing I really wanted to mention is it's about the small steps. You can get overwhelmed, and a lot of people do get overwhelmed saying, what is all of this stuff that's coming at me? We just went through this intense period in COVID, like there's too much, there's lots of noise. I agree, there is. So the way that I like to look at these things is in small bite-sized pieces. You don't have to take all of this at once. Take one thing at a time and test it. And then once you've tested that, figure out what works. And then you can test something else and really use the resources and the technology that are available to you. And that is what our aim is here this panel, and we've created a group called jewelersgoingdigital.org. And on our website is one place where you'll be able to find a lot of resources at jewelersgoingdigital.org. And I would recommend going to check that out. But, you know, you can utilize our expertise, and we're all happy to help. You know, you could shoot us a message, find us on Facebook. You can send me a message anytime and say, you know, we're here to help. And so there's resources for you. And yeah, I will, again, here's jewelersgoingdigital.org. And you don't have to go at it alone. That's the whole point here. And that's what we're trying to do with starting jewelersgoingdigital.org, is to provide really helpful resources for you. So with that, Sarah, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dustin. That was great. Somebody said this is such great advice for life in general, too. So good feedback already. So I just want to go now to Alex, and then we'll go to Trace and Sean. Now, just seeing the survey report a little bit more in depth, what stands out to you and what really coincided with what you saw during the shift in the industry? So Alex, I'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Dustin, for a great presentation. And again, welcome everyone to this webinar. Happy to be part of this. So we really experienced it firsthand, obviously, because, you know, we have a lot of clients that we manage their website, we provide digital marketing. What was really interesting, we all panicked, right? Everybody really panicked when this thing happened. And then what we noticed, that we were getting calls from the clients that exactly that, and they wanted to pause their marketing. You know, we were doing SEO for them, and they wanted to stop SEO. They wanted to, you know, obviously stop spending money on PPC, which was understandable. I even talked to a client that he wanted to shut down the website to save money. And I had to have those one-on-one conversations with the retailers that, look, this is the only way that your customers can connect with you is through your website. In fact, I had a good conversation with him to a point that he signed up for a new website because he didn't have e-commerce. His site was a little bit older. We're doing digital marketing for him. He's doing really well. I mean, we were able to really turn that around, you know, 180 degrees. A lot of customers that we had, you know, for example, SEO strategies for them that we've done for a long time, we had to convince them, no, you can't stop right now. We work with you because we're your partners. We reduce your fees, but don't stop because your competitors in your market are aggressive. They're not stopping. And that's something that everybody had to realize, that there were a lot of our jewelers that continued, like you said, double downing. You know, we had clients that they even increased their budget. Why? Because cost of acquisition was less, cost of pay-per-click was less, because there were, you know, their competitors in the area, they were not spending the money. So we were able to reduce their costs, and they were able to take really market share. We had a client that came from another agency that they've been with, you know, for 3 years, and they were on a lot of our webinars, and we had a lot of conversations, and we kind of evaluated their position in the market. We redid their website, implemented the strategy. They're thriving. I mean, I talked to them last week. It's a $1.2 million store. With the new website, with the new marketing strategy, they did $350,000 just in December. So it really, I think the pandemic was a wake-up call. This industry is, based on my 20 years of experience, 20 plus years of experience in this industry, we're a little bit more reactive, right? We're not proactive. So this was a wake-up call for the entire industry to become more proactive. And I'm glad we're having this conversation today with the leaders really here in this, and the experts, because our intention, like Dustin said, is we don't want this industry to shrink. We want it to thrive. We want it to grow. It's beneficial to you. It's beneficial to us as a service providers. So there's going to be a big shift, I think, moving forward. There's going to be a lot of those jewelers that still are not seriously, and we have those conversations with them. They're starting to make that decision for different reasons. Maybe they don't have the funds. Maybe they want to retire. They wanted to retire 6-7 years from now, but now they're about to retire. There's still some that are not getting it. They don't see the importance of it. They still don't have an e-commerce platform. They're still on an older technology. So there is that shift, and we're going to see that, I think, in the next 2-3 years. Definitely, I think there's going to be some of those jewelers that are not going to be relevant anymore if they're still not being proactive, if still are not willing to make that change. As they say, you can't expect different results if you're doing the same thing. You got to change your mentality. You got to change the way you're thinking. Digital marketing is awesome because it doesn't cost you as much as traditional marketing. It's trackable. So every dollar that you spend, every click is traced, and you can get it analytics, and you can get reports as far as the conversions. And 3, it's easy to make the changes. Like Dustin said, the A/B testing is really easy with digital marketing. 20 years ago when I started this business, just about everybody had an ad in Yellow Pages. They were spending a few $100 to a few $1,000s a month. That's where your customers used to go. They used to go to the Yellow Pages to find you, to find about your services. That thing is obsolete. Where do they go? 92% of the people on a local level, they go to Google first to search for the product and the services that they're looking for. So what does that mean? That means you got to be there. You got to be visible. You got to be prominent. And if you have a good setup on your website, if you have good reviews, that's first they find you online. They go to your website. They're interested in your services and product and your story. Then they're going to read the reviews. Make sure you have over 100 reviews, positive reviews. That's really, really important. And there are ways to capture those reviews. So it's a holistic approach. Like Shopify said, it is an omni-channel. Definitely, I think there are a lot of technologies, a lot of tools available. They're not that expensive. Look, Blue Nile is opening up kiosks. Really and Earth are opening up stores. James Allen's also opening up stores. So they're going backward. They started from online. Now they're going to brick and mortar. You already have that brick and mortar that costs a lot more to establish. Adding that omni-channel, adding that layer of e-commerce and online presence costs you a lot less than for Blue Nile to open up a store. It's going to cost them at least $150,000 to $200,000 plus the inventory. You already have that. So I'm excited about the future of this industry. I'm really bullish about the jewelry industry. I really think the people that really embrace the technology and are willing to change and adapt to the new norm, they're going to thrive. They're going to take market share. And unfortunately, some of the ones that are still don't getting it and they're not spending and investing in their business, unfortunately, they're not going to be relevant. And the aggressive ones are going to take the market share. So that's what I saw from this report. And I'm glad that Dustin was, he was amazing by, putting the team together and getting these results and reviewing the numbers. But I think the numbers speak for themselves.
Alex, you mentioned something that stood out to me. And it's like, if you think about a customer's journey, finding a store, your digital footprint is so important as a retailer because you detailed it out. Somebody's going to go online, they're going to go Google. If they don't know you or if they've never heard of you and they're in the area, let's just say they moved their new young family to the area and they're looking for a jeweler, they're Googling, what is the best jeweler in my area? And you're going to make an impression and they're going to make a decision in their brains before they walk into your store. They're going to already have checked out your website. And if those things don't check their boxes, reviews, like you said, if those aren't checking the boxes, you're going to be severely disadvantaged. And so like those are things, if you think about what's your customer's journey, like those are things to think about. And so when you were talking, Alex, I just thought about that. So you're completely right.
Another point to that, Dustin, I talked to retailers, they said, no, we're prominent on search engines. So if somebody types in our name, we show up. That's not the point. If I'm a consumer, I'm looking for an engagement ring. I haven't seen your ad. I haven't seen you. I haven't seen your store. So there are keywords that you need to, and it's easy test. You can do it yourself. Just pick 10 keywords that are relevant to your business. If you're doing appraisal, if you're doing watch repair, if you do custom engagement ring, type it in Google and see if you guys show up. If you do not show up in your local area, you're lacking SEO. You need to work on that SEO. That's really, really important. Thanks for that.
Great. Trace, I'd like to loop you in and just get your feedback to the survey and what you really experienced at INSTORE.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I thought it was interesting, the survey, there weren't a lot of results that we weren't expecting to see, but I think it gave us a benchmark, right? It gave us a way to look and say, okay, this is where things stood at the end of 2020. And we saw that a lot of jewelers did see some pretty incredible results by increasing their digital footprint. What really, on the flip side, what stood out to me is all the people that, either shrank their advertising budget, 10% don't have a website, 27% don't advertise or stopped advertising. 49% of those that do have a website don't offer e-commerce, which is pretty incredible. And then I think the one that actually stood out the most to me that surprised me was the number 17%. Only 17% use video conferencing to connect with customers. I thought that number would be quite a bit higher, given that there wasn't really much of a way to connect with customers during the pandemic. So, it showed me that, while we made some progress, we still have a long way to go. I think that the jewelers who are managing out of fear or apathy are the ones who are going to be left behind. I think that's the shrinkage that we're seeing in terms of retail doors shutting down, that we've seen, I guess, for the last 10 plus years. If you manage through fear, you're afraid to spend the money on advertising, you're afraid of trying to learn a new technology, or apathy. If you just don't care enough, right? If you're just comfortable and your sales are slowly shrinking, but you're not really that interested in improving your business. Those two things I think will kill a business. I think when it comes to the end of your career and you're ready to sell your business or do something with it, those things are going to cost you. So even if that's your goal, I think that to be successful as a jeweler, as a retailer, you need to be proactive. Just as Alex was saying, you've got to try to embrace the new technologies. And I know we're going to get into some of the ways that people can do that, but open your mind, don't manage out of fear, don't manage from apathy, be proactive and do your best to step into this new brave digital world that we're in.
Yes, definitely. Sean, I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Sure. Well, I also want to take a minute just to thank Dustin and the team for putting the survey together and the panel discussion. I think it's a great initiative. I think it's pretty obvious that COVID has accelerated the move to a more digital reality for most. For me, the key takeaway is that retail jewelers really need to step up their online game if they're to survive the years to come. And I don't just mean e-commerce. There's so many online channels that can be used to reach your audience and to drive traffic to your brick and mortar or online shops. Retailers first need to, I think, determine who their audience is and learn to leverage and engage with these potential customers where they're spending the most amount of time, and that's online. So, with most retailers reporting best return on investment from social media sites, mainly Facebook and Instagram, I think the good news is that these sites make it extremely easy to create an audience and to advertise to that audience through targeted ad campaigns. And as Dustin mentioned, you can start with whatever budget you're comfortable with and then just kind of scale up as needed. You really don't need a big budget. And I think, as Trey said, the key is to be more proactive with the digital front than reactive.
Yes. And I'm just going to ask all of you sort of a question to spawn off of that. Really, how do jewelers manage now this omni-channel approach? They're reaching out on social media, they're doing email blasts, they're still driving traffic to their store. Is it more employees, or what do you feel like is the best advice you can give to them to really make sure that they're doing all of these things to the best of their ability?
I can answer that from my perspective. I really think that not just the jewelry businesses, really all businesses also need to be a technology company. If you have the resources to hire in-house developers, marketers, which there are some jewelers obviously that have the resources and the means to do that, by all means, you got to do that. If not, you got to partner up with a company that specializes in e-commerce, digital marketing, technology, that can be your partner, basically. The third thing that I would really advise is, the millennials get that, they get social media, they get digital marketing, try to hire a younger generation employee in their 20s. Let them help you with your social media posting. Let them help you with the creatives, because they'll be the voice. Even if you work with us or a technology company, they'll be the liaison. They'll be the people that, or the person that we can communicate on a weekly basis to see what's going on in the store and what needs to be promoted. But again, I have a friend who's an attorney, and he's had a hard time getting leads, because the traditional way was not working. So we had a conversation and ran some analysis, and I saw his website. I saw his, basic, their SEO, and I told him, look, if you really want to start getting some leads, these are the things you got to do. And he had the means. I said, hire someone that can do this in-house for you. So he's spending, $6-7 grand on an employee, but he's got enough leads that he's selling those leads to other attorneys. So he has become kind of his own technology company. And I think really every business, doesn't matter if you're a dentist, if you're a doctor, if you're an accountant, you need to have either the resources in-house, and you got to partner up with someone if you really want to thrive moving forward. That's my.
I can add to that too. I agree. I think that, there's so many good resources, and so if there's something, it can be overwhelming. To me, it could be overwhelming to try to take on all these things, and that's why it makes sense, from my perspective, to reach out to folks like us and utilize resources. And there's a lot of free resources, and we go to our website, jewelersgoingdigital.org. You'll see a ton of stuff there. But these are all things that can help you hone in. And so, Alex, I agree with everything you just said. It's really about trying to think a little bit differently. And then I would encourage folks to try to really think about their customers. And I always believe that as a retailer, your customer experience that you can offer is your superpower. You have the ability to have somebody come to you, and you can grab them by the hand and hold them and tell them exactly what they need to do, and you can help them do whatever they need to do. And online cannot give you that same type of personal experience. They just can't do it. So I would say that those couple things too.
Just to add to that, I think it's okay to try different things and to spend some time pushing content to different platforms just to see really what's going to work best for you. I don't think there is any one size fits all kind of magic formula for retailers. So just because you see that one jeweler is having success on Etsy, let's say, doesn't mean that every jeweler will have that same sort of success. So it does largely depend on the type of inventory. What is your story? What is it that you're looking to push to your audience? What is your price point? Who is your target audience? If you can start by determining that, then you can start to think strategically on how to create unique content that will engage that audience and ultimately try and drive them to your e-commerce site, your social shop, your marketplace ads, your brick and mortar store, wherever it is that you're trying to push that traffic. First, identify who is your audience, then try and create that unique content that will drive that audience to you. And as Dustin and Alex mentioned, if you can find room in the budget, I would also strongly recommend bringing on, either a professional social media person or hiring a digital marketing firm that specializes in these things, because it removes the learning curve. And, just because you can potentially learn it doesn't mean that you should. You have your business to run, and it can quickly become a full-time job just managing your social presence. So if you have the means, I would recommend bringing on somebody.
Yeah, and I just will add that, I think a lot of store owners, they see all of these things as burdens rather than opportunities. I think that you've got to change your outlook and see technology as an opportunity to make your life easier and make your customers' life easier. Because I guarantee you, your customers already see it that way, right? And they're already expecting to connect with you through your website, through e-commerce, through video conferencing. So it's your responsibility to meet those needs, or your customer's going to go somewhere else that will. And so I think, change your outlook. If it's just you, if it's just you and your spouse, maybe you have one employee, then as all the other guys have been saying, you can outsource a lot of this. You can outsource all of it, honestly. And if you have staff, then as Alex was saying, we've been running some articles lately about, the new jewelry salesperson, right? Someone who doesn't only sell, but can also contribute in terms of social media and technology. And so, there are different ways you can do that. Get the staff to buy in. I was reading about a jeweler yesterday who has a particular code on internet sales where those commissions from internet sales go into a separate fund that goes to a staff party, right? I mean, I guess if it's like a really big chunk, you might do more than a staff party. Maybe you do some sort of a staff-based commission, but that incentivizes your staff to have fun with fulfilling those internet orders. Versus, resenting them because they don't have a piece of it. So, there's things you can do to, involve your staff or to outsource the burden of running those things from you to, to outside companies that is really their expertise. So I just encourage people to, change your outlook and try to look at this as an opportunity rather than a burden.
Great point.
Excellent point.
Yes, really good point. And that kind of just goes with shifting to e-commerce now. What advice do you have for jewelers that are resistant to adding e-commerce to their website and are just still haven't added that option for their customer base? What advice would you give to them?
I can jump on. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I think your customers need to be able to find you online and see what kind of services or products you offer. E-commerce aside, I think in today's digital reality, you have to have an online presence one way or another. And the way I see it, if you're going to spend the time, the money to try and push traffic to that website anyways, you might as well spend the extra dollars to have it transactional and be able to sell directly through your website. And then, from there, you're able to capitalize on sales that you wouldn't have otherwise made from out-of-town customers or local shoppers who maybe still prefer to buy online and are not yet comfortable going into brick and mortar. So that notion of having, the omni-channel presence where customers are just as comfortable purchasing through your online shop as they would be, in store, I think is more important than ever. So in terms of advice, I would say just take the plunge. Dive right in. You don't have to do it all at once, but you definitely need to get started if you haven't already.
So let me add to that too, Sean. There's a misconception that jewelers think that they're going to turn the e-commerce on, they're going to have the shopping cart, they're going to start getting orders, 10, 15, 20 orders. And I talked to them, they said, we don't have the staff to even fulfill the orders. I go, look, take baby steps, right? First of all, by adding a shopping cart, which like Sean said, it doesn't cost a whole lot to really add that component. You're giving an option to your customers. If they already know you, if they're familiar with your brand, if they want to purchase from you, you're just giving them an option to buy. It's there. Maybe they came into the store, they saw something, they didn't buy. It's a Sunday. You guys are closed. They would, like to finish that and complete that purchase. And, you're giving them an option to purchase online. That's awesome. Maybe somebody that has known about you or has recommended you from a different city, different state that are far, they want to place that order. That's an option. The e-commerce strategy it starts with adding the shopping cart, but it doesn't end there. You have to have a strategy, a complete holistic strategy if you're looking for consistent online sales. When you have the shopping cart, based on my experience, based on what I see on different jewelers' website, you're going to get those sporadic orders. they're going to come in, whether, you know, somebody finds you from a different state or a local clientele. But if your target audience is only, and your marketing area, the geographical area is just the locale, and within 15-20 mile radius, people would rather possibly, like Sean said, they would rather come into, they want to find it online, but they want to come into the store and experience it and purchase it. If I'm spending $7,000, $8,000, if I have to drive 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get to the store, I would rather do that than just buy it online sight unseen, right? But if you have a marketing strategy that expands beyond your geographical area, now you have a whole lot of chance to really, you know, capture those online buyers. But don't have the fear of having an e-commerce. There are, we partner up with a company called Clear.sale. They guarantee the transaction. So I know there is a fear of fraud. This is what I hear from a lot of jewelers as well. If I have an e-commerce, if people start buying online, what if there's, so you could prevent that from these technologies. Like Trace said, you got to embrace the technology. You got to embrace what's available and do not have the fear of technology. And unfortunately, definitely there are fears, and totally understandable. I don't know much about diamonds, but I know technology. You guys know a lot about designers, diamonds, jewelry, engagement, different type, halo, this and that. But that's where the partnership comes in. You want to partner up with a company that knows your business, understands your customers, but can really deliver that technology if you don't have the resources in-house.
I could add to that too is, I mean, the first step is getting started, like, right? Just deciding, okay, let's try it. That's the first step. But also I think that there's another step here that it's also sticking with it. Like you said, Alex, like it doesn't happen overnight. So it's about starting, it's about taking the baby steps, but it's also about letting the process take place. It's about sticking with it and seeing those little victories. And it's just like Instagram. It's like building an Instagram following. You don't just have 50,000 like followers overnight. You build them up. And this is the same concept, is you start, you take baby steps, stick with it, and then you look back in a year or two and you've made a lot of progress. And so I would add that there.
Absolutely.
And I would just say to start with, if you're starting e-commerce, start with the pieces that are unique to you. You know, if you have a line that's designed in-house, if you have estate pieces, if you have anything that's unique, you know, start by adding those things that can't be shopped on other websites, and go from there. It never hurts to have everything that you offer online, but that's the place to start. And then I've heard from a lot of people that say, well, I only do really custom design, so e-commerce isn't that important for me. But I'm seeing more and more jewelers who do custom offer a process online where there's a platform where they can have the back and forth with the customer. They can share the designs, they can share the progress. And so even if you're a custom designer, I hope that you are looking into platforms that allow you to connect with customers that, may not be able to come into the store, and that's how you broaden your base.
Yeah, that's a great point, Trace. We did that for a number of other clients with Zoom. So it nicely integrates with different calendars where people can schedule an appointment, and we've had success for a lot of our clients that they're even surprised how, if you're in Kansas and you're getting a client out of Colorado, how does that happen? But it has happened, and they were able to actually create a custom ring for them. So the tools are available, the technologies are available, and you just have to embrace them, really. You just have to be open-minded to utilize them.
Definitely. I just want to go around and ask each of you, so in the past year, what has each of your companies done to keep up with this digital shift? Is there anything new coming that you want to share, or is there anything that really, you quickly adapted to the past year and you want to speak to that? You want to start, Sean?
Sure, yeah, I can comment on that. Well, for those who don't know, Polygon is a business-to-business network and marketplace for gem and jewelry professionals. So we connect buyers and sellers in a very secure online platform. We have 4 product databases: diamonds, jewelry, colored stones, and watches. We also have a private marketplace to buy and sell. and we do diamond auctions with our partners Hoover and Strong and host a few events per year. So obviously our events we had to kind of put on hold for last year given the restrictions. But early in the pandemic, we had a very large influx actually of new members joining the network. So we saw a huge increase in trading activity in a lot of our channels. As a lot of people, I think in the trade, were focusing a little bit more in the B2B, online trading. So during the rush, we actually had to move some of our data storage over to cloud services as part of our mission to become a cloud-based enterprise. So, the idea was to enhance and ensure a very consistent experience for our users and facilitate like the uploading and processing times for our vendors. This year alone, this past year alone, I should say, we brought on over 200 diamond dealers and new manufacturers, which offer an even better selection to our retail clients. And these vendors are obviously competing for best price. So we know that mobile capabilities and accessibility is also important for a lot of trade people and a lot of our users as well. So we are developing some very robust new mobile features to be introduced later on this year. So definitely an interesting past year. I'm very proud of how our organization has handled the pandemic so far, and definitely looking forward to the years to come. And by the way, if anyone wants to get onto our mailing list or find out about some of the upcoming product launches, feel free to sign up at polygon.net to get our newsletter. And as well, we do offer a no commitment trial access to anyone who's in the industry. So if you do want to give Polygon a try, it's not something that we ever did before, but during the pandemic, we did open up our doors just to encourage retailers and wholesalers who are looking to do more digital trading B2B to join Polygon, give us a try, see what kind of results they can get. And it's a no commitment trial, so no credit card or anything required. As long as you're in the industry, you can join and try the service for free.
I can also add to that, Sarah. So again, we saw that increase of online sales, and Shopify stocks, as you guys know, it just went to the roof. It's on the $1,100-$1,200 per share. So we became a partner with Shopify. Before that, we also were developing sites, but 47% of the sites that we developed last year, they were all Shopify. So we also built in some apps for Shopify just because these apps were really successful for us as well as our client. So our Diamond Link technology is an app. That's something that we developed last year where we can take the feed from Jewel Cloud as well as Polygon and other channels, and then the retailers can adjust their markup. It's a plugin app, completely integrates with Shopify and their e-commerce, plug and play. We also developed a ring builder. We partner up with Overnight Mounting, which we had that ring builder, but again, this is an app specifically for Shopify, plug and play. Then we also work with about 140 designers and manufacturers within Jewel Cloud platform. So anybody that wanted to get on Shopify and wanted to have virtual inventory from some of these designers and manufacturers, with this app, we can push their data directly to their site, as well as with Edge integration and POS integrations. So if they have a Shopify store, they wanted to push their Edge data to their Shopify store through this app, you can do that. And the fourth one was a partnership with Stellar. So Stellar has their iframe module. They call it a showcase, Stellar Showcase. So we've been able to integrate their showcase with Shopify as well. So we were really busy last year. So not only from acquiring a lot of new clienteles, but also in the development as well. So they're already in the market and they're getting installed every day.
Yeah, and I can add to that. So we, if you don't know BriteCo, we're an insurance and technology company. For retailers, we provide a really unbelievable state-of-the-art appraisal system that really changes the game when you're doing appraisals. We identified this issue, a huge pain point for jewelers around doing appraisals, which is, we all know, is a huge pain in the butt. So we've made that whole process a lot easier. But what we've done for retailers, we really aim to just bring as much value to our retail partners as possible. Our product is free. We actually give you referral fees from using the system. So we've continued to keep our foot on the gas in terms of developing our product, maturing our product, the appraisal product. We developed a Shopify app. So if you are active in selling online and you have an e-commerce site or you have a Shopify site, we have an app in the Shopify store that will plug our insurance quote right into your shopping cart. Also, if you're in the process of building or looking to build, we work with GemFind and Alex and you can install our app through them too. And so we've done that. And then we also, something I'm really excited about is we have a reward program that we're launching in approximately 4 to 6 weeks, where you'll have to actually accrue reward points for doing appraisals. And so it really just about adding value, and we've just continued to add value back to our retail partners.
And for INSTORE, for those who may not be familiar with us, we're a publication that delivers business advice to jewelry retailers. So we do that online and in print. And what we've been doing for the past year is just doing our best to get as much advice on how to handle the pandemic out there. And we've done a lot of it through video. We did a ton of webinars early on. We did 3 online jewelry weeks where we tried to connect vendors with retailers who may not have been able to, or weren't able to travel and see each other. And then we just finished a 2-day event called How to Crush It Online, where we talked about a lot of these digital concepts and how to improve your digital presence. So we have a couple more, I think, events planned, virtual events planned for the next 9 months or so. And so hopefully that will continue to be able to help all of you to improve your businesses.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I will just move to questions now from the audience because there are some coming in. So we want to shift there. I will start with Mark Merchant. He just asked a question. We are a retailer with 13 locations in Texas. Is it better to have separate social media accounts for each location? For Instagram and Facebook, or is it better to have one account for all locations?
I would, yeah. Dustin,
Yeah.
you want to jump in?
No, you take that. That's for you, Alex.
So I would probably have one for all the stores, and then I would have also individual one for each store, because really depending on the location, depending on the followers and how far apart they are, not knowing that, I couldn't tell you, but having one that really encompasses all the stores, share the content with them, and then also have individual ones for each and every store, really. I know there's a lot of, more work, but it'll eventually pay off.
I think you have to consider the fact that social media is intended to create conversations, right? So you want to have conversations with your customers, and if those those customers are local, so you need to have someone local interacting with them. And so, like Alex said, I think it makes sense to have separate accounts for each one if they're that spread apart, and then that one main account that you can use to do company-wide conversation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll just move to another one. If you are starting a business that is more of a service company than a sales company, because we don't have enough money to buy inventory, do you have any advice? Starting a business that's more service than sales.
It doesn't matter if you're e-commerce, if you're providing service. I've made an example for an attorney. So it's start with your website, definitely have a great online presence. Make sure you're being found based on your services that you provide on Google, on the search engines. If there is a budget, if there is enough search volume, definitely you want to have some sort of a PPC campaigns as well to drive traffic to the site as well as to convert, and also social media. Really doesn't matter if you're an accountant, if you're a dentist, if you're a doctor, if you're selling diamonds, jewelry, whatever you sell, or sell cars, it really doesn't matter. That online presence and the avenues and the channels of marketing are all the same. It could, like Sean said, Etsy may not work for a jeweler, but all the mainstream social platforms and the digital marketing channels will really apply to everyone, for all businesses.
Yeah, and if you're going to use that tactic, something else that you could potentially do. So if you're trying to drive in traffic and provide your services, you might want to talk to some other folks that you could potentially partner with that might be able to kind of plug in that back end piece of it. So I think there's definitely options, and I would start with what Alex said for sure.
That's a great point. And I'll just add that there are also a lot of vendors as well as service providers such as Polygon who offer virtual inventory plugins. So even if you don't have the funds to invest in a substantial amount of inventory to have on site or on hand, it's quite easy today to take a piece of code, plug it into your site as an iframe or whatever it may be, and display inventory that doesn't necessarily belong to you, but you're able to promote it as your own with your own markup. And once you sell the piece, then you source the piece and you just make that that middleman cut. So definitely look into virtual inventory plugins, whether they be through us or others that offer them in the industry.
So we were the first company back in 2001, Sean, that developed the diamond link technology.
That's
It's
right.
exactly the same model as Blue Knot. Doesn't make any difference. Blue Knot even today, they don't own any of those diamonds. They may own maybe 5%. Maybe less than 5% of their diamonds. But what they do is they partner up with different diamond suppliers that utilize their inventory with their own markup. All they do is they're just a marketing company. So there's no difference than what Blue Knot is doing with their business, or Brilliant Earth or James Allen. They're all utilizing virtual inventory. So instead of investing, like you said, millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the actual merchandise, you know, especially if you have an online store, you might as well just use the virtual inventory.
Definitely.
And that's the reason we partner up with all these designers, 140 designers. Some of them are branded manufacturer, like Carson Fire Decor, Simon G's. You have to have an account with them, but there are a lot of them also that are non-branded manufacturers, and they want to sell. They want to work with jewelers. You're muted, Sean. We can't hear you.
Hang on, sorry about that. Just a small tidbit that I'll add to that. Not necessarily on the selling front, but on the buying end. I know a lot of our retailers also buy a lot of OTC, so over-the-counter goods. A few years ago, we partnered with a company called Hoover and Strong out of Virginia. A lot of you probably already know them. You know, and what we've developed is a plugin for retail jewelers that helps them buy diamonds from the public without putting up any of their own cash. Right? So if this is a hurdle that you're trying to overcome, or if it's something where you're scared to buy from the public, you know, for fear of getting stuck with the merchandise or not being able to move it very quickly, we now offer a free plugin, and it's totally free. You can just put it onto your site. It's called My Auction, and it allows you to take goods on consignment from the public, submit them to a trade business-to-business auction. You essentially give your customer a login and a password where they can see their diamond at auction on your website. And essentially you're helping your customer bring top dollar for their inventory and capitalizing on sales that you wouldn't have otherwise made because you wouldn't have otherwise bought that diamond. Or you may have been reluctant to buy the diamond, or your offer might not have been good enough to buy the diamond, and therefore your customer now is leaving your store to shop it around. So in the event where you do buy a lot from the public, you know, there are also free tools available to you that help you buy more efficiently from the public and move merchandise to the industry without putting up any capital of your own. So definitely something that I would recommend looking into if it's something that, you know, if you're already buying a lot of diamonds from the public.
Thanks for that, Sean.
Sure.
I'm just going to keep going through some questions. If you do want to ask a question live, just raise your hand and then I can unmute you and I'll just cue you to speak. I know that somebody wanted to raise your hand, so just do that and I'll look for that. Alex, this one is specifically for you. It's from Rich and Katrina. They were working with another agency, and unless they spent a lot of money, they got lost in the mix and saw very little ROI. So how do you deal with this and provide assurance to your clients?
So when it comes to marketing and digital marketing strategy, it really depends on what the goal is and how fast we want to reach that goal and how competitive your market is. I mean, there's a lot of components that go into that, right? If my philosophy, I always take baby steps. I'm very conservative when it comes to spending clients' money. I want to see the historical data. And then if there are no historical data, I also want to do A/B testing. So I want to see what campaigns are performing better than the others, reallocating the budget to the campaigns that are doing better. Have a case study where you can see what the actual cost per acquisition is. So if you're spending 1,000, let's say, and you're getting 10 customers, let's replicate that model, spend 2,000, get 20 customers. The beauty of the business that you guys are in, you're dealing with high ticket items. You're not dealing with books and CDs. And I've always said that are $5, $10, $20 that you have to sell volume. All it takes, you know what the lifetime value of one customer is. So if your digital marketing can drive that traffic, that can acquire new customers, and you can keep them as a lifetime customers and hopefully get them to refer their friends and family to you, the lifetime really value of that customer is in the thousands. So spending the money, and what's really beautiful about digital marketing, it's all intent based. What do I mean by that? If I'm a customer and I'm typing engagement rings, Halo engagement rings, I'm in the market for it. You want to show up. You want to be in the pool of the people or the businesses that I'm searching. So you got to be found. That's first and foremost. So again, going back to SEO, if SEO is a long-term strategy, it takes a while, get on PPC. But if you're, your cost of acquisition is $25, $30, but as a result of that, you could sell and make $1,000, $1,500. I think that's a great ROI. So it's all data driven, and I'd like to see the historical data. Based on that and your competition, we can do a SWOT analysis, and based on that, we can come up with a winning formula moving forward. But again, I'm very conservative when it comes to spending clients' money.
Alex, if your cost per acquisition is in the $25, $30 range, and if the lifetime value of that customer is in the thousands, that is
it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
As much of that as possible.
Trust me, Dustin, we have clients, and I saw Rob a little bit earlier. I don't know if he's here or not, but I mean, it's really. Oh, Rob, he says yes.
He's on chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you maybe, if you can let Rob talk, Sarah? They came in from another agency, and we've really formulated something for them. And if he could talk, he could share his story with us. They're doing amazing. They really are doing amazing. And again, the cost of acquisition, we've been able to get it down. Their spend is not a whole lot, but their business is really thriving. It's okay, you have to raise hand, Rob, to talk. But I'd love to see these case studies because, it is working. It really is working for a lot of jewelers that really listen and follow direction.
Yes, certainly is exciting to see. I am going to unmute. We have Roger Cadet. He has a question. Hi, Roger.
Hey, Roger.
You just have to unmute yourself now.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you guys for putting this on. I think it's great information for a lot of people. I mean, me, myself, I'm a private jeweler's trying to slowly retire out of the field. But the digital is so important today because I know there's people I have friends that are jewelers. In one store in Indiana, they suggest to all their employees constantly put jewelry on, advertise it on Facebook, whatever, to get your names out there. Dustin, I don't know this guy in the blue shirt, but Dustin, I compliment. I'll get to you, Sean, in a minute. I compliment you on your program that you put out because it is, first of all, it's the best appraisal program I have ever seen. Not only with the digital, because with the millennials, it's so important because, as you know, they don't want to do anything but use their phone today or use their computers. So it's great. You sell a ring, you get an appraisal, and you get an insurance quote in less than 3 minutes. And I think it's great. And I applaud you for what you did. Sean, I mean, you developed a room where, like you and Alea with Jay, but put where jewelers can match up with other jewelers. I think it's a great thing. The one thing I agree with Blue Nile is they just opened up a store in the Chicagoland area. And I went in there and I said, so can I get a ring today? And you can't get a ring there. They don't have real stones. They have mounting. So everything has to be ordered. So, you know, a lot of times the millennials, they want to go in the store and they want to buy that day. So as far as the digital, I think the problem with the percentage of people that are not going to digital is one word. The word is change. And they fear the word change because they don't know. It's like the unexpected to them. And I think if it could be taught to them somehow, like this is the easiest way, they might be able to understand better. One other thing I wanted to bring up was with the sales, because sales have been going up. It's unbelievably out of the clear blue. But my question is, how true is that percentage of sales that are going up? Because as you know, we had last year, there was everybody got a stimulus check. They're getting one again today. Now stimulus checks, yes, are to improve the economy. But out of that percentage of people that are actually going and shopping, going to fine restaurants, buying clothing and jewelry, are the ones that are behind in their bills and rent. And all those bills, they're not putting it toward that. They're putting it toward jewelry and going to fine restaurants. So do we actually have a true percentage? If what would happen if the stimulus checks didn't go out? Would we be seeing this? And how much of it is really going properly, or are people spending it for other areas that they should be spending it somewhere else?
Roger, first of all, thanks so much for the kind words. We really appreciate that. We appreciate you. The first thing I'll say is, if I had the answer to that question, the full answer to that question, the Fed should be calling me right now and getting my information. But here's what I saw. The true number, we don't know yet. It's really hard to estimate. Especially, I mean, the survey that we took, was in the grand scheme of things, we had over 200 people take the survey, which is great, but it doesn't, to actually understand the true numbers, I think it's a very, very much to be seen still. From what I can understand and from what I see from the numbers, it really does look, and I think you'll probably have heard this, but I think it's true. The true competitor to the jewelry industry is travel. Like it just seems that folks, and there was this kind of spending phenomenon, not just with jewelry, but people were in their houses spending money online. Like Amazon was going berserk, like things, there were places people were, it kind of this really interesting phenomenon is the way I would put it. But I think we saw some of that purchasing, pent up purchasing demand happening in our industry. I was shocked. I mean, for me, like that was an incredible thing to see. And I think that our industry, really proud of our industry. We've done a really good job through this. But I think it's my answer to that, Roger. I think I would say that it's hard to tell right now. I think looking back in another year or two, we might be able to see the whole picture of it, but I think we've never seen anything like this. So I think it's kind of an unknown. That would be my opinion on it.
God, look, I would love for the industry to, our industry is constantly shrinking, and especially the B and C malls where the anchors are going out. Who knows where they're going to be, down the road. So no, we would, as much as I as anybody else would love to see that. I would like, it'd be great to see the true picture. And Trace, even though I don't know you, I do get your magazine and I appreciate it. It's a great magazine. But again, I just want to say I appreciate what you guys are doing, and especially with Sean and Dustin, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Roger. I'm just going to loop Rob. We have Rob Rose. I think, Rob, are you there? Not sure if he's there. Okay, we'll wait to see. He is unmuted, so we'll just give him another minute. I did just want to ask Trace, just your insights into the trade shows, since, you know, everybody sort of always seems to ask, it's always a topic of conversation on the webinars. What do you see for the upcoming shows this year?
Yeah, we just we did a survey of our readers last month actually, and asked how many plan to attend a trade event in 2021, and 61% said they do plan to attend. Some have already attended. Went to the Atlanta show in March. You know, a lot are planning to go to their IJO or their RJO conferences, Conclave in September through AGS, and then of course JCK in Las Vegas. And so from the comments that I saw, a lot of people are excited to get back out, see their friends, find out how they fared, and see the jewelry, you know, face to face versus on video. So I think that, you know, 61%, that's still almost half as, you know, great. Less than before. So I think, you know, it'll be, you know, for sure the traffic will be less, but I do think that they'll do okay. I think the shows will be fine.
Trace, I wouldn't be surprised if that number gets to 75% by August, you know, as we keep opening up.
That's a great point. Yeah, because people are going to get increasingly confident with the vaccines and the numbers dropping, we hope.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you're on this webinar and you're debating doing it, I mean, see how it goes. It's all about comfort level, but we'll definitely be there. I'm excited to be there. At least at JCK, we'll be at JCK. So if you're going to JCK, come say hi.
Sounds good. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap it up here. Just final comments from everybody. It's about over an hour that we've been chatting, so really great conversation today. Just closing comments from all of you. I will start with you, Sean. Just future of the industry. What do you think is here to stay that in this digital shift that is going to just be ever true now for our industry?
Well, I think, as mentioned a few times, I think in the digital reality that we're in, it's just more important than ever to have an online presence. And I think, you know, with the acceleration of digital tech adoption since COVID, jewelers just need to really learn to get in front of their customers, not just in store, but online as well. This is where customers are looking, they're shopping. You know, it was very telling to see 68% of jewelers are still relying on that in-store visit, and that 10% of retailers still don't have a very basic website. I think if we want to remain competitive and relevant to our customers, it's very important to adopt that click and mortar approach with a combination of online and traditional marketing to drive visibility, traffic, and sales. On my end, I mean, I do want to thank Alex and Dustin and Trace and Sarah, John, the people at IGS, as well as our marketing director, Lindsay Watkin, who is not here, or I believe she is here in attendance. And everyone who took time to complete the survey or had any part of this initiative. I think during these difficult times, our industry needs to be smart. We need to come together. We need to help each other. And we need to start thinking more long-term and to support each other by any means. I think to learn to measure the return on investment, I think, is very important. So whether it be digital marketing efforts or other, and to really, you know, to just go back to what Alex was saying, to make data-driven decisions. Like, it's not about emotion. It's really, you know, measure what's working, put more focus, put more effort in, and throw more budget at what is actually driving traffic and sales. So, you know, we hope that our analysis and our report helps you all in your business this coming year. I think we are planning on doing more, and I'm very excited to do more to help the industry. So thank you everyone for your participation.
Thank you, Sean. Dustin?
Yeah, I agree with what Sean said. If you participated anyway, and to my fellow panelists here, Trace, Sean, Alex, Sarah, and everybody else, I mean, there was, excuse me, a lot of people behind the scenes that really helped out here and push this initiative forward, and it's been really, really successful. And so I definitely thank everybody that's been involved. And I think this has been a great this has been successful, so we might do this again next year. If you're interested in participating in the survey, definitely let us know, because I think these are the types of things that the industry could really help the industry, and I think the industry needs these kinds of things. And I really do agree with what Sean said, is this omni-channel approach is really where the future is going to exist. I think retailers, like Alex mentioned earlier, you know, Blue Niles are moving into retail brick and mortar space. Like, you're there. So it's about adding the other things. And as Trace mentioned too, it's about being proactive and taking the steps that you need to take. If you don't take those, the risk is high. There is a high risk if you do not take proactive steps to change your business and to advance. And so I would, and then the last thing I'll add to that is utilize resources, utilize us, utilize this panel. We will be posting, go to goingdigital.org. I think there'll be a follow-up email to this afterwards. So use those things. And yeah, that's what I would say.
Great. Thank you, Dustin. And thank you for all that you did really with your team to put this survey together. It was really incredible. Trace, I'm going to move to you.
Yeah, thanks guys for letting INSTORE be a part of this. You know, I think information like this is what helps the industry move forward as a whole. And so I think this was a great initiative, and kudos to you guys, everyone at BriteCo and GemFind and Polygon for developing the idea. In terms of the future, I think, you know, the pandemic was awful. There's no word to say how bad it's been in so many ways. But if there's a silver lining for jewelers, it's that it spurred many of them to get into the digital space where they hadn't before. You know, your bridal buyers now is Gen Z. You know, if any of you have kids that are in Gen Z, they're never disconnected, right? They have their phones with them at all times. That's how they communicate. That's how they shop. And it's going to be incumbent on all of you to make sure that those options are there for them. And, you know, luckily now we're seeing a surge in that embracing digital in the jewelry industry. Still not where we need to be, but I think that will continue to increase. And I hope that, you know, that 17% that have used video conferencing will rise tremendously. We've included a lot of advice about that in the magazine and online at instoremag.com. So I hope that if, you know, that's something that you haven't tried yet, you'll go and read those articles and give it a shot.
Great. Thank you, Trace. And thank you for being here. Alex, closing comments from you?
Well, I echo everyone, Dustin, Sean, Trace. This definitely was awesome. Thanks everyone for joining. I really personally am very bullish about the jewelry industry. My only advice is really don't have the fear of change and fear of technology. Embrace it. This industry is not going anywhere. Be proactive. Don't be reactive. Plan ahead of time. And I can tell you that some jewelers are not going to make change, unfortunately. That means there are going to be opportunities for you to take the market share. So be aggressive. You know, you're dealing with high ticket items. Don't be shy about investing in a good digital presence, online presence. Couple that with marketing. Just website alone is not enough. You have to make sure that there's a digital marketing strategy behind it, but start with your website. It doesn't matter if you're spending thousands of dollars on digital marketing, but you don't have a good online presence and a good website, you're wasting all of that money. If you have a perfect website and you're not doing any kind of digital marketing, you're kind of wasting the opportunity, really. You're missing the opportunity. So we're here to help. You know, I want to again thank the panel. Thank you, Sarah. You know, we want to help the industry. That's really our intention, and that's why we have these kind of webinars.
Yes, certainly. And thank you all for being here. Again, we truly appreciate your time, and of course, all of the participants as well. We will be sending a follow-up recording and also all of the resources that we did speak about today. If you do have any further questions that you'd like to ask any of the panelists, I'll just ask you to go around really quick and share your email. Go ahead, Alex. Just verbally.
Alex at GemFind.com. Mine is easy.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop it here as well.
Mine is Dustin.Lemick, my first name dot last name at Brite.co. And I'll drop it in the chat.
Thank you.
Mine is Trace at smartworkmedia.com.
I'll drop mine in the chat. It's Sean, SEAN at polygon.net. Easy enough.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We will end the webinar now, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, everybody.